that we got at our most recent industry summit with construction, telecommunications, and electricity. They were saying, we have these jobs. We want to hire Canby people. It would be wonderful if there were one place where job seekers could go to find out about local opportunities. And this Explore Canby app is the perfect platform because all of our businesses have access to it for free, and it's very easy for them to upload information about jobs that they have. The challenge and our mission will be to market it so that job seekers know that it's there. So once it goes live, I'll be doing a press release to the Herald. I'll be reaching out to the high school, to their career counselors to make sure that their students that are looking know about this and generally get the word out about this opportunity. We also added in associations direct buttons so that people that are looking for the Kiwanis and the Elks and the American Legion and all of our great service organizations can find that very easily. We continue to update it. The other piece that we're working on the back end is how do we make our Canby business website more mobile app friendly, because more and more that's how people are finding their information online, and we have found an affordable and easy platform to be able to do that, and our webmaster is on the job.
Great.
And the next item was the Construction and Energy and Telecommunications Summit. Mayor Hodgson was our master of ceremonies on that. We invited Tony Helbling to be our industry expert and facilitator. We had a great conversation. I learned a lot more about the wonderful broadband capacity that we have in the city, and now can really use that to promote it to businesses that we have.
National leader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have the meeting highlights in your packet. Like the Metals Summit that we had this summer, they also had concerns about the future workforce, and that seems to be a common theme. Did you want to add anything to that, Mayor Hodgson?
I think you covered it very well. I think that was the two big pieces were labor force, and then the ability to get projects moving in that we as a city do a good job of either hand-holding or very precise, how do we get a project through all the different flaming hoops and jagged edges that sometimes projects can create, but how do we help that process along easier were the two big themes that I had heard from them.
And their timing couldn't be better because we are taking a look at that internally and hope to be making incremental progress over the next 6 to 9 months. So,
Great.
Next, we'll be developing an urban renewal report for you. We'll be coming to you in January with the latest edition. I'm working with our finance director, Haley Fish, to get up-to-date numbers, as well as project descriptions of the projects that are underway and envisioned. And then finally, the Canby in the Spotlight newsletter, hot off the press, is right here for you. We have focused this time on the Sequoia Parkway extension that the Urban Renewal Agency is funding, as well as the team track concept that you just heard about this evening. Some more details about our latest new employer in Canby, Cascade Engineering Technologies, which just has their business license approved this month, and a real estate perspective from both the industrial realtor as well as the residential realtor perspective, and some updates on new developments, things that were starting to come to fruition in the summer edition and now are completed with the final after picture. So that is what I have to report on the economic development front, and then Jamie will have a Main Street presentation for you.
Great.
Any questions I can answer?
Questions? Everybody good?
Very comprehensive.
Thank you. Alrighty, Jane.
Jamie Stickle, Main Street Manager. Last Friday, December 6th, was the 13th annual Light Up the Night and First Friday. It's a great tradition where families and couples and people from Canby, and actually people from outside of Canby, come down to kick off the holiday celebrations. First, it would be I would be silly to not thank all of the different people that really went into helping. We had our Parks and Recs, Public Works, the mayor was there to give a speech. Joan Monin lit up the night. Greg Perez was there to be the MC and make sure everything went well. Canby Kiwanis was on board to get the canned food, and several other people, fire department, several other people along the way just helped to put in the time and the effort that it takes to make that event happen. Our promotions committee worked going into that event to try and find a way to reasonably spend our money to light up the park. And we had talked about uplighting and things of that nature, but it wasn't quite going to work the way that we thought or dreamed. You know, I live in a caffeinated, glittery world up here, and Parks and Rec takes me down to the real world and says, you know, that's not probably going to work as well as you think it is. So we have decided to really start investing our money on long-term, sustainable figurines, I guess would be a good way to call it. We added an 8-foot tall penguin, which is the cutest little penguin you've ever seen, and 2 reindeer this year. And in the future, we hope to add to that. It would change the scope of the event a little bit to make it more of a interactive where families can take pictures and people can walk around the park and really just be in that park and utilize it in the wintertime. After the event, while kids were going through to see Santa, I watched several families taking pictures, and then at the end of the night, there were several couples walking around and they were looking through at all the different lit up displays in the park. So by expanding it that way, I think we'll be able to keep people in the downtown a little bit more, invite them back over the month of December. We had 11 businesses participate in First Friday, and this is by far one of our busiest First Fridays. You know, the streets get lined with people for the parade, and then especially this year, it gets cold and people want hot chocolate or food or to go shopping. So it was a really great event. We look forward to starting to plan for next year. The downtown draw this month will feature LPL Financial, Clint Coleman, who's located at 181 North Grant Street. LPL Financial is a financial firm that provides investment advisory services, brokerage, and technology in Canby. This effort helps to market downtown businesses and focuses on both entertainment and service-oriented businesses. It's featured in our website, Facebook, and in the newsletter. Our Historic Review Board met Monday, December 2nd, to identify a theme for the plaque program. One of the big conversations that we've had is something called a heritage trail, where you actually can walk or cycle or find a way to move around the community and then potentially move to other communities, so we could link with, let's say, Aurora, to really expand our knowledge base and our tourism base for heritage in Canby. We were approached at that meeting by a gentleman who is representing the Mack House, which is one of 3 historic properties that's listed on the Canby Register here in Canby, obviously. And they want to move that from the Zor Lutheran Church property. I think it's been moved about 4 times up to this point. And they want to move it within all big planning terms, but basically within a certain zone, and it didn't quite work. So he went to the Planning Commission and he asked the Historic Review Board to show support if we did indeed support it. And after looking into the information on this house, one of our Historic Review Board members pointed out even that we've got a Mack as one of our former mayors, that the history is rich, the building is rich, it's only one of 3, and so one of the board members spoke on behalf of the Historic Review Board, and our Planning Commission decided to find a way to be able to keep the house, because the other option was to tear it down. And so they voted unanimously to make sure that we keep that historic house here in Canby, and we're moving forward now on the application end of all of that, and hope to move that, and they're doing some work to keep the historic integrity, and really it's going to add some historic character to a different part of downtown, or the downtown overlay district, I guess. The available properties database that the Canby Main Street manager and economic development director complete was updated. We use this tool to help promote our businesses and our property, or our properties for sale and for lease within Canby. You know, we walked in from a meeting today, and somebody was standing and looking at our printout where we keep it on our front counter, where they could look to see if there was available properties in Canby that fit their needs. It's also available on the Canby Business website. And finally, the Arts and Culture Advisory Alliance of Canby is a newly formed group and will meet for the first time in January, so we don't have to compete with the holidays and travel. Chairperson Laura Sattler is contacting all of the members for the first meeting, and up until that January meeting that has yet to be set, Canby Main Street is still accepting applications. So anybody that's interested in joining that should contact me, and I can get them an application and we can have them sign up. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Jamie?
I do have one.
No, we have a
Actually, I
question.
have two. First, on the apps, do we have any more? I mean, our last design meeting, we just had a few. Has anybody?
I haven't received any more
Okay.
up to this point, so I think that with Laura, we have 5 people at this time.
All right, thank you. And I have one more question regarding Light Up the Night. Actually, more about the trees and businesses. Is there still time to vote for your favorite tree with canned food, or is that over?
I had a talk with we thought we were going to be able to get trees donated, and as we got closer to the event, we weren't able to get trees donated. And so I had a conversation with Pam Thomas, who's one of our promotions committee members, and then also the owner of the Place to Be Cafe, and said, well, what if we just put it out to the businesses and said they could decorate any tree, it didn't have to be a specific kind of tree that was donated to them, and really make it work for them. And she said, during the holidays, businesses have so much going on that I don't think that we should do that this year, and maybe we shoot again for next year. So we'll try it again next year, and I think the best way to go about that is to not offer to donate, because then you're kind of coordinating that, and I think that makes it a little bit harder, because that's the thing that we was kind of hinged on. And that way, if they can do whatever they want to. If they want to do a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, they can do a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. If Pam Thomas wants to hang coffee cups all along the wall and put lights on that, which is a really good idea, I just thought about that, she should do that, then she should do that. So it gives it the ability to make it a little bit better. We did try and do a really big push at the event for canned food from the parade, from people that attended, and we didn't get that much canned food. I talked to Canby Kiwanis, so I'm going to start the plug now that we really, really want to use that event to get canned food to give to the Canby Kiwanis. They were kind enough to come out and fight that cold, and they handed out hot chocolate for us. And so it's a really important thing that keeps canned food in Canby for the people that really need it during the holidays. So that's my plug for that.
All right, well, they do still have a barrel that cuts for us, so if you were too cold to go to Light Up the Night and bring your canned food down, get down to the grocery store tomorrow and get it in the tub there.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks, Tim. I wanted to thank Commissioners Hensley and Coleman, who've been working on the promotions committee, and
I have to correct you. I'm actually on the design.
We're both on the design. I'm on promotions, but that's okay.
I'd like to thank Commissioners Hensley and Coleman for their volunteer efforts on the Main Street program.
There we go.
There's also, it's a lot of fun, and it's not a closed group that people who are listening want to get involved. This is an exciting program, and thanks to you, Jamie, for pulling this together. I know you like to defer the thanks to other folks, but this took a lot of work this year. And finally, sometimes it shows that just the little things make a huge difference. Walking through the park afterwards, the one thing that people were just thrilled about was the hand-painted background mural, so that kids could take a picture with Santa and have sort of a studio-type background. And I think we need a shout-out for the contribution that was given for that.
Yeah, and that was Pam from Miss Adelines, and she is on the promotions committee, and she's one of those people that you give a little nugget of an idea to, and then she calls you 3 days later and says, so I've got it, and I don't know when you want it. I can drop it off now, or I can wait till the event. And she's about as caffeinated as I am, so it makes for a good conversation. But she and I were out there on Friday trying to hang it up, and one thing we didn't really account for was how windy it was going to be. And so after lots of laughing and trying our hardest to get it up there, we finally got it up. She did an amazing job, and really she said, I'm going to paint some mountains and some trees. And then what comes out is like, it really looks like something incredible, and it is something incredible. She put her hard time and work into it, and she had her husband work on it because that's how they are. And so it was thank you. It was a really nice addition, and it was I think fun, even more fun for the kids than just seeing Santa and getting a candy cane. So thanks. I'll pass it along.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
That's great. All right, next we have an update on the Civic Center development. Tonight, Renata has graciously offered to be the pinch hitter. Both our administrator and assistant administrator have prearranged absences tonight. So in deference to Renata, just be aware that she might not be able to answer detailed questions, and she'll let you know if she can't, but we'll definitely record those and get those back to our administrator.
Great.
And with that,
Great,
have at it.
thank you. And this summary pulls together a number of conversations and presentations that the Urban Renewal Agency has had over time. So it's not news to you, but it is helpful to the viewing public and for you to have it all pulled together in one place. And so in October, this group directed the city to pull together some numbers and some preliminary ideas around a new location for a library civic complex on 3rd and Holly, and to determine the feasibility and the cost of designing that in a 2-story structure and for the price tag of about $9 million, which is the bonding capacity that we have. And so the proposal that came back was a multifaceted approach in 3 phases. The first phase would be an 18,125 square foot library in the existing library footprint, and then expanded to the east on the adjacent property, the S&P Graphics property. It would include an 8,000 square foot 2nd story shell only that would in the future house the city administration offices, and a 3,000 square foot basement that would be unfinished. It would also include the purchase of the adjacent property, that's lot 7,900 on North 3rd Avenue, and it would relocate the library temporarily during the construction phase. The second phase, which is not funded at this point, as is the third one, is completing the 2nd story for the administrative offices, completing the basement, and moving staff to that facility. And the final phase is expansion to the east, which would add 5,300 square feet of additional library space and include the purchase of lot 8,000, which has not been agreed to yet with the property owner. In terms of a timeline, the first phase would take a little bit less than 2 years. It's 21 months from the start of the project. Phase 2 would be an additional 13 months, and the final phase, which is having everybody move in and expanding the library, would be an additional 13 months. In terms of space needs, there have been a number of shots at this from a consultant as well as internal assessment. The bottom line is we need about 11,000 square feet to accommodate the city administration, as is downtown, for current needs. That doesn't include future expansion. And although the combined 8,000 on the 2nd story and the 3,000 in the basement does add up to 11,000, that would not be appropriate administrative office space. The basement is more envisioned for storage and for library operations kinds of uses, but not for personnel. So the schedule and the budget reflect the time and cost of temporarily relocating the library. One early idea was to move the library to the Development Services building, move the Development Services staff to the old police building. That would be at a cost of about $400,000 in temporary relocation. The city administrator's recommendation is that may not be the best approach, to keep development services where it is and look for another space for the library within the community during the construction period. In terms of budget and funding, currently we have about $9 million. That includes the bond that we have in place already, and $1 million that could be available from the Clackamas County Library District. The second and third phases, the funding has not yet been identified. That would be a $5.6 million shortfall. Cutting expenditures of $1 million per year from an already lean budget is not possible from the city administrator's standpoint. Selling bonds would be the likely source for that amount of money. There's two options. One is the Urban Renewal District, and the second would be to ask the citizens of Canby for a general obligation bond. If you were to do that for the $5.6 million over a 20-year bond at 5% interest, that would be $40,000 per $100,000 of assessed value. My understanding that the average house in Canby is about $250,000, so it'd be a total of about $100 a year that you'd be asking citizens to support. Hopefully the council will receive direction from the advisory vote that's been scheduled for May, and be ready to move forward on whatever next steps come out of that. You could potentially defray some of the bonding costs by either selling or leasing the existing city office space or city buildings downtown. The overall rough estimate of the value of that property is $1 million. And if you were to lease it, it could potentially underwrite about 20% of the bond. So additional pieces of information that we as staff will be working on or looking to you for direction on are what are the true space needs for administration currently as well as in the future realistically. What is the intended function and size of the basement? Where is the best place to temporarily house the library? What is the true cost of moving the library twice? And how does that impact the budget? What is the realistic income from the sale or lease of existing city spaces in downtown? And how would you prefer to fund the shortfall of $5.6 million? So that's a quick overview of the staff report, and I'm happy to bring back any questions or comments that you might have, and we would be happy to come back to you in January at another time.
Ready? Questions? Comments?
Many, but not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at this
Not
time.
yet.
I plan
Yeah.
to chew on this and probably email Greg, so. But I like having just, I mean, none of this is final, but having everybody in the process of hearing everything that's being talked about is helpful. I mean, none of this is concrete yet, it's just the ideas, and it's nice to have that summary go out to everyone, so everyone's on the same page. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renata.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renata. And that concludes our new business agenda. We have another opportunity for citizen input. Any interested citizen takers on that? Thank you all for coming in.
They're
today.
interesting citizens,
You
they're
are.
just not interested.
Not to say you're not interesting. We do not have an executive session tonight, and so we have no action review, and so with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn this meeting, and Merry Christmas to all of Canby.
And I'll second that, and also say Merry Christmas too, thanks.
All righty, moved by Commissioner Hensley, seconded by Commissioner Parker to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good night, Canby, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you next year.
Thanks.